All right, tell me when you're ready.
We're ready.
Well now, if you remember your history, the English had basically pacified all of India by the late 1860s, except for a few roving bands of Thuggee stranglers and a few recalcitrant Pathan tribesmen from the northwest frontier. And because of the Great Sepoy Revolt of 1853, the British had a policy of bringing out from England various and sundry light regiments to bolster the native levies and so to preclude ever having one of those terrible mutinies again. And as these regiments would take station there in India, they would have to be resupplied with young recruits fresh in from England because of attrition due to battle and fatigue and rotation and disease and such. And as these young recruits would join the regiments, as sergeant majors would come out and give them a short orientation lecture on the do's and don'ts of service there in India. Well, one day there came a contingent of young recruits up from Calcutta, detrained at Rawalpindi, and were marched smartly out to the cantonment area of the 1st Enniskillen Fusiliers, proud regiment. And the sergeant major met him. He said, "Now, men," he said, "I want to tell you about a few things here, about your service here in India." He said, "First, never, ever eat anything unless it's served in your own mess." He said, "The food that you would eat in any of the native villages or restaurants will turn your insides gray and make your eyes fall from your face therefrom." And he said, secondly, he said, "Any meetings you might have with any of the ladies here in India, you must remember to conduct yourself with care and deportment, such as to reflect on the honor of our good Queen Victoria. And thirdly, and most importantly, you should always beware of the orange Quindilin." Now he says an orange Quindilin is a serpent, recognized by its orange and black concentric rings around its body. Its venom is 20 times more potent than that of a king cobra, and its speed is such to outrun a horse at full gallop. You have but one recourse. In any meeting you might have with an orange Quindilin, you must very slowly reach out with your primary hand, be it left or right, grasp the Quindilin by its tail, give it a mighty jerk to elongate its body, taking your secondary hand, thumb extended, run it down the entire length of its body till you come to its head, grasp it firmly into your secondary hand, taking a stone into your primary hand, crush its head. So I dismissed the man, and a few days later, he and the colonel on a short inspection tour of the areas, and one of the stops happens to be the hospital. And as they walk into the hospital, the sergeant major notices in one of the bunks across the way a body all swathed in bandages and splinters, all his extremities. In fact, his only left eye and his right nostril to the sight of man. And he rushes over to the bed. He said, "Well, Fraser, man." He says, "Is that you?" And a weak voice says, "Aye, Sergeant Major, 'tis I, 'tis I." He says, "Fraser, what's happened to you, man?" He says, "We haven't had any engagements with roving bands of Thuggee stranglers, nor recalcitrant Pathan tribesmen from the northwest frontier." He says, "What's happened to you, man?" He said, "Well," he said, "Sergeant Major," he says, "one of those bloody orange Quindilins has done it." He says, "But I told you how to handle that." "Oh," he said, "Sergeant Major," he said, "I did exactly as you said." He said, "The other night, Sergeant Major," he said, "I had occasion to have to go down to the latrine." And he said, "I got up very quietly so as not to wake my mates." And he said, "I taking the candle that's kept at the door for that very purpose, and holding it aloft, I entered down the path towards the latrine." He said, "I'd no sooner taken a few steps down that path, Sergeant Major, when I noticed in the light of that candle one of those Quindilins. Oh, Sergeant Major," he said, "I recognized it immediately by your description of its orange and black concentric rings around his body. Remembering every word that you said, I slowly put that candle down in the path, such as to illuminate that Quindilin's tail. And reaching out with my primary hand, which in this case, Sergeant Major, was my right, he said, I grasped that Quindilin just as you told us." And he said, "I gave it a mighty jerk to elongate its body. And taking my secondary hand, I thumb extended, I ran it down the entire length of its body till I found my thumb impaled in the rear end of the biggest Bengal tiger you ever saw."
Was it a tiger?
A Bengal tiger.
Oh, it's orange and black. I get it. Wait, so it wasn't a snake, it was a tiger.
Yeah.
There was no
Orange and black concentric rings around its tail.
Oh, it's a tiger!
Ah, tiger!
I got it.
Now.
Hold on one second.
You want me to stop?
I want you to do the duck call.
The duck call.
Yeah.
I don't have
Hold
a duck
on.
call.
No, I
Get a
gotta
duck
get
call.
it for you.
Get a duck call.